It started, as many great and terrible things do, with something small. Not a battle, not a booming speech, not even the flicker of a distant star. No, this story began in a quiet corner of a crowded city bus, crawling through the rainy heart of Atlanta on a Monday afternoon. The boy, no, young man, was sitting near the back, earbuds in, hoodie up, eyes glazed over as if trying to disappear into the rhythm of his music. 17 years old, tall and wiry, with a book bag slouched at his feet and a face carved with that unspoken weight some kids carry too young. His name was Elijah Brooks. He was just trying to make it home from school in one piece. Nothing more. The bus groaned to a stop and in stepped a woman. White, maybe in her early 30s, visibly pregnant, soaked from the rain and clearly exhausted. Elijah saw her, blinked, then without a word stood up and motioned to his seat. She hesitated, a little surprised, maybe even skeptical, but she nodded her thanks and sat down. No big deal, right? Just one of those little moments that happen 1,000 times a day. But when she left the bus 10 minutes later, she pressed a small, folded note into Elijah's hand. He didn't read it right away. He just tucked it in his pocket and forgot about it, more focused on dodging trouble in his neighborhood than deciphering mystery messages from strangers. But when he finally opened it later that night, in the quiet of his bedroom, his life, and the fate of humanity, shifted forever. Because the note didn't just say thank you, it had coordinates and a message. You are not who you think you are. That night, while Elijah sat frozen with the paper in his hand, 400,000 kilometers above Earth, something stirred. On the dark side of the moon, in a hidden vault shielded from all scanning technologies known to man, an ancient system blinked to life. Lights that hadn't glowed in over 2 centuries flickered on, and a signal, long thought lost, was reactivated. It pulsed out into the black, aimed at a part of space even Earth's most advanced telescopes couldn't reach. The signal was a call, a distress call, not from Earth, but for Earth. And the only ones who could answer it were known throughout the galaxy not by their name, but by what others whispered when they saw their ships in orbit. The Crimson Vow, humanity's most feared war fleet, but no one on Earth even remembered they existed. Not yet. Meanwhile, Elijah started noticing things. The way the streetlights near his building flickered when he walked past. How a strange humming noise followed him some nights. How sometimes, just sometimes, when he focused hard enough, he could feel thoughts that weren't his own. Memories. Not dreams, but flashes of places that didn't exist, stars he'd never seen, languages he didn't speak yet somehow understood. The note haunted him. So did the woman's face, the way she had looked at him, not like he was a kid doing a nice thing, but like he was someone important, like she knew something he didn't. And then there was the van. 2 days after the bus ride, a black van started following him. Unmarked, silent, always parked just far enough to make him question whether it was really there. He told his mom. She thought he was imagining things. Paranoia from too much late-night YouTube. She was exhausted. She worked double shifts. She didn't have time for mysteries. Then Elijah disappeared, gone on his way home from school. No trace. No noise. Just his book bag found in a puddle by the curb. But Elijah hadn't been taken by any gang or kidnapped by some random stranger. He had been activated, not by choice, not even by understanding, but because something buried deep in his DNA, something not entirely human, had been triggered by that note, that gesture, that moment of kindness on a city bus. Now, far beyond the edges of the Milky Way, great metallic structures began to shift. Portals long sealed started to open. And from the deep silence of exile, the Crimson Vow began to wake. But they wouldn't come for Earth just yet. They'd come for him. Because Elijah wasn't just any teen from Atlanta. He was the last living key to a weapon the universe had forgotten. And someone out there remembered. Someone dangerous. Someone who had sent the note. But why her? Why a pregnant woman on a rainy bus? Why now? And what made Elijah so special? Those answers would come, but not without a cost. Because once the fleet returned, once those red ships broke the sky, the world would never be the same. And for Elijah, the boy who gave up his seat, his life would never again be ordinary. But in this moment, this quiet final breath of peace before the storm, he stood unknowingly on the edge of everything. The note in his pocket, the stars watching, the fleet rising, and the war? It hadn't even begun yet. Elijah's mother, Tanya Brooks, sat on the edge of her son's bed, staring at his open notebook. His handwriting was everywhere, doodles in the margins, pages half filled with ideas for comic book stories, music lyrics, notes from class. But there was something else now, something new. In the very back of the notebook, in blocky, careful letters, he had copied down the coordinates from the note. She didn't know what they meant. She didn't know how to explain to the officers that her son wasn't the kind of kid to run away. He wasn't perfect. He had his moments like any teenager, but he was grounded, respectful, and smart. She'd raised him that way. She didn't want to believe he had just vanished. And yet, when she came home from work and found his phone still charging on the desk, food still in the fridge, his shoes still lined up by the door, it felt wrong, like he hadn't planned to leave at all. The police asked questions. Where was he last seen? Had he been in trouble lately? Could he have been involved with anyone dangerous? Tanya shook her head again and again. They took the book, promised to look into it. But she could tell by their tone, their eyes, that they weren't taking it seriously. Just another missing black teen in a big city. What they didn't know, what no one could know, was that Elijah wasn't missing in the way they thought. He was gone in a way that defied the rules of the world. Hundreds of miles above Earth, on the edge of low orbit, Elijah woke up on a cold metal floor. His head throbbed. His body felt different, lighter somehow. He blinked at the dim overhead lights, sterile and white, buzzing softly. It smelled like metal and ozone. Not a hospital, not a jail. Somewhere else. A soft voice spoke. "You're not supposed to be awake yet." Elijah turned sharply. A woman stood just inside the doorway, tall, pale, eyes glowing faintly blue. Her clothes shimmered with technology he couldn't even begin to name. Her face was human, but not fully. Something about the way she moved, the way her voice layered over itself like echoes, made him freeze. "Who are you?" he croaked. His voice felt raw. "My name doesn't matter right now," she said, stepping closer. "What matters is what you are, and what's inside you." He backed up until his shoulder hit the wall. "What the hell does that mean?" "You have something that belongs to us," she said. "You carry a key, a signal, an old code, buried deep inside. One your ancestors didn't even know they passed down, but it's awake now, and that means we're out of time." Elijah's heart pounded. None of it made sense. He looked down at his own hands like maybe he'd see something alien under his skin. But they were just hands. His hands, rough palms, scar on his thumb from when he tripped on the playground in 3rd grade. "This is a mistake," he said. "I'm nobody. I'm just a kid. I live in Atlanta. I go to West Fulton High. I was on a bus, that's it." The woman tilted her head. "You gave up your seat. That's not nothing. That changed everything." He stared. "Are you serious? Right now? I gave a seat to a pregnant lady. That's basic decency." "No," she said quietly. "That was a test." Elijah blinked, stunned into silence. "Centuries ago," she continued, "when the Crimson Vow left Earth, they swore never to return unless summoned by one with the core signature, the last strand of the command code. It couldn't be activated. By force, only choice, only compassion, only humanity." He was shaking his head. "No, this is a movie or something. This ain't real." But deep down something was real. Strange warmth in his chest, a rhythm under his skin, like something alive was humming inside of him. "What do you want from me?" he asked, voice cracking. "To survive," she said simply. "Because now that you've lit the signal, they're coming. And not just the vow." Behind her, a hologram flickered to life. Star systems lighting up one by one like matchheads catching flame. One in particular pulsed red. That, she pointed, is the Tsar Collective, a species that wiped out 5 planets in 4 days. They destroyed everything that carried a trace of the Crimson Code, and now that they've picked up your signal, they'll come for Earth next. Elijah's breath caught, but Earth doesn't even know any of this. No, she said, that's why you're here, because you're going to be the one to tell them, to lead them, whether you want to or not. Back on Earth, Tanya sat by her son's window and watched the rain start to fall again. Her phone buzzed, but she didn't pick it up. She just stared, waiting, hoping, wondering where her son was, what he was going through, and why somehow she felt like her life would never be the same. At the same time, high above the Pacific, a satellite's orbit was interrupted by a flicker of red light. Untraceable by human systems, it blinked once, then again, before disappearing into the void. But in deep space, dozens of vessels began to stir. Long, silent hulls groaned as power surged through them. Weapons systems long thought obsolete realigned with terrifying precision. The Crimson Vow was answering the call. But they weren't the only ones, and Elijah Brooks, 17-year-old kid from West Fulton High, was about to become the center of a war he didn't start, but might be the only one who could end. And still that note burned in his pocket. You are not who you think you are, not even close.